Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Mafex Cyclops. And I think this is kind of a weird version of Cyclops for Mafex to do, unless they plan on doing the rest of X Factor, because, by itself, I don't think that this look is the most interesting thing ever. I like the way it looks, but I think it works best in like a team setting. When you have Cyclops along with Beast, Angel, and Jean all dressed in their X Factor costumes, I think it looks amazing. But having Cyclops by himself, it's kind of weird, And Mafex hasn't announced that they're doing the rest of the team. And, even if they announce it tomorrow, we won't see it for 2 or 3 years. So it's kind of a weird situation. But, whatever. It is what it is. I'm a big fan of Cyclops. I like this look and I like Mafex. So I'm excited for it. But let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off with the packaging. Through the window, you are able to see Scott along with the accessories. And I love the comic book style theme that Mafex uses for their comic book based figures. I think it looks awesome. I like the comic panel here. I like the comic book numbering. It says 173. Down here, we get a look at Cyclops. It says Cyclops, X-Men, Marvel, Mafex, all that good stuff. On the side of the box, we get a look at the figure looking awesome. And then on the back, we get a look at Cyclops along with the accessories, and then they have them posed up looking badass. And then we get another look at the figure on the side of the box. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Mafex packaging. It's collector friendly and it's small enough that you could just kind of keep the accessories in there and store them that way instead of trying to find some other way to store them, And then the overall box doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So I like it. Most of all, I love the design. The comic book design is amazing. But enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and get Scott out and take a look. Alrighty, so here we have Scott right out of the box. And I've got to say, I think this figure is looking pretty damn good. I really love the blue that they used here. It kind of has like a metallic look to it, and it goes very well with the white, which has like a little bit of a shine. I think it looks awesome. Unfortunately, the paint isn't as clean as I would like to see from Mafex. There's nothing that's like too over the top and nothing that's too sloppy, but considering the price, the paint should be damn near perfect, and that's not necessarily the case with this figure. Thankfully, there's nothing that stands out as super messy, but when you get in close, you could definitely see that things are a little fuzzy and not quite as sharp as they should be. But I think for the most part, there's nothing that's too distracting as far as the paint quality goes. And there are some things from a design perspective that I wish were different. Like, I really wish they would have given him the boots with the cuffs. I think that he usually has those type of boots when he's wearing this costume. You could obviously find some comic book art that, this is very accurate to. But in my mind, when he was dressed up like this, he usually had like the boot cuffs. So that's something that I wish they would have done instead of what they did here. And another thing is, I really wish that he included a head sculpt that had like the stocking cap mask type of thing. He doesn't come with that, and that's crazy to me because even on the front of the box, the artwork that they show has that look for the character. So I think it's really whack that they did not include that. And yeah, that's really my big complaint off the jump. But I knew that that wasn't going to be in there when I bought the figure, so can't cry too much about it. But it's definitely something they should have included. But I still think this head sculpt is good. I just wish that he had that other head sculpt with the stocking cap. I think that looks better. And it just looks cool with this design. But yeah, I would say this is a really good looking figure. All the joints felt pretty good. There was some tightness in the shoulder and the bicep, so I did go ahead and put my little, oil in there and it worked out fine. And then the hips were a little loose, but nothing too crazy. For the most part, the joints felt really good and the figure has been fun to handle. So yeah, I think I like what we have going on here, This is a weird figure because I'm enjoying it. But I'm like, man, this is like, there's not enough going on here to justify the price, to be honest with you. But I'm happy with it, I'm still having a good time with it. And as far as the details go, there's not a whole lot going on because this is a pretty simple look for Cyclops. But I think that Mafex did a good job with it. There are some paint imperfections, or not really imperfections, but just some areas that could have been done a little sharper, like a little cleaner, especially for a figure at this price point. But I think for the most part, the paint work is okay. Starting off at the head, I think this is a great looking head sculpt. The facial expression does work for Cyclops, so I like that a lot. The visor looks good, the hair looks good. Everything about it is pretty well done, but as you can see where the skin meets the mask, it gets a little sloppy. There's a little bit of blue on the skin tone, and then at the very top of the head, you could see that there's a little bit of blue where the skin meets the hair. But these are things that I really didn't see until I got in close with my camera. So although I wish that the paint was perfect, it really doesn't bother me that there are slight imperfections here, like They, I want to point them out because it should be noted, but at the same time, it's not like ruining the figure for me. It's not like I could sit here and say, damn, this paint sucks or anything like that. It just like, it could have been a little bit cleaner. And then moving down into the body, same kind of thing applies. Like there are some areas where it's a little fuzzy, but again, it really only matters when I'm getting in close with the camera. When I'm just handling the figure, the paint doesn't really like jump out to me as poorly done. And as far as like sculpting work goes, the X logo is sculpted on. You could kind of feel it in there. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, not a whole lot going on. For the most part, it's a really good looking figure. The paint isn't perfect, but to me, I think it looks pretty good. I like how they gave him some shading though, like in the white areas, you could see that there's a little bit of blue in the hand here, and then on the chest, there's a little bit like, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little bit of blue shading in the white that's intentional, and you could tell that it's intentional. It's not one of those cases where, just some blue is bleeding over or something. You could tell that they wanted to give him some blue shading in the white areas. But yeah, see, this could have been more crisp right here. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But for the most part, I think it's a good looking figure. I like that the white and the blue kind of have a shine to them. The blue has like almost a metallic kind of look, and then the white has almost like a pearlescent kind of effect to it. So yeah, I think it's a great looking figure, even though, the paint definitely could have been better. I keep repeating it because I don't want people to act like I'm giving it a pass, but I've just got to be honest. I think for the most part, the figure does look good, but there are some areas that could have been better executed in regards to paint. But I am happy with the way Cyclops turned out. And then for accessories, Cyclops does come with a decent amount of stuff, including 4 different sets of hands. So first off, we have a pair of fists, we have a set of open hands, a set of pointer finger hands, and the final set have his 2 fingers extended. You could use these to make it look like he's pressing down on his visor, releasing the optic blast. It's always nice to get those. And then he does come with 3 different head sculpts. The first one here is the one that we've already looked at. I think this one looks really nice. It's really well done. The facial expression is good. The hair is good. The visor looks nice. This is a great looking head sculpt. The next one is like an unmasked version of it, but he still has his visor on. I like this head sculpt a little more because the facial expression looks a little bit more angry, and I think that fits Cyclops very well. Then finally, he does have a fully unmasked head, and this one does not have the visor. Just Scott Summers rocking his awesome glasses, and these look really good. I like how the lenses have like a reflective look to them. And yeah, I think this is a great unmasked head sculpt. And then he does come with the cowl down effect that you could use on those last 2 heads. And he does have 3 different visors. The first one is just your standard visor that, comes on the standard head. And then he has another one that has like a smoldering effect. And this is really dope. You can make it look like his visor's kind of recovering from letting off a crazy optic blast. So that's always nice. And the final visor is one that has a little insert so that you could plug in the effects that he comes with. He does come with 2 different blast effects. The first one is kind of skinny and like direct. This one is nice. And then the other one is kind of a little bit wider. It looks like he's maybe trying to hit multiple people or something, or a bigger target. So that is really dope. And I think these effects are really cool. I love the color. I think they're very sturdy. They're solid, but they're not super heavy. So when you put him in, it's not like Cyclops' head is just flopping all over the place. He could actually support the weight of the effect, so that's always nice. But yeah, he does come with some great accessories. The only thing I think he's missing is a head sculpt that has that mask, that stocking cap mask, the one that covers his whole head. They really should have thrown that in there. Honestly, I would have taken that over the unmasked visor head. But yeah, unfortunately, they left that out. I think that's the only thing this was missing. But aside from that, I'm happy with the accessories that he came with. And then for some size comparisons, here we have the X Factor Cyclops alongside the Mafex Jim Lee Jean Grey and the Mafex Jim Lee Cyclops. And I think that Mafex has done a great job of giving us a lot of characters from the Jim Lee / 90s era of X-Men. And I really hope they show that level of commitment to other, popular periods of X-Men. Like I would love to get some more stuff from the 80s, more X Factor, that kind of thing. They did a good job and they stayed committed with the Jim Lee stuff. Hopefully they do the same for some other things too. And then here we have them alongside the Mafex Gambit and the Mafex Brown Suit Wolverine. And man, I've got to say, I love the way that Cyclops and Wolverine looked standing next to each other. They look pretty damn awesome and they fit together very well. And to get him next to some villains, here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Mr. Sinister and the Mafex Age of Apocalypse Magneto. And I'm really looking forward to the classic Magneto. I think he's going to look awesome alongside these Mafex X-Men figures. Oh shit, it's a family reunion. Here we have Cyclops alongside the Marvel Legends Corsair and the Marvel Legends Vulcan. And man, let me just tell you, I freaking love this Corsair figure. There's not a whole lot going on with it, but I think it came out really, really dope. So I do plan on doing a review for it. I'm not sure, that's something a bunch of people want to see, but I just want to show some love to that figure because that thing is awesome. And of course, we have to show Cyclops alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And then to get him in here with some more OG X-Men, here we have Cyclops alongside the Marvel Legends Iceman and the Marvel Legends Beast. And I would love to see Mafex tackle both of these characters. I feel like if they did Iceman, it would be very similar to Cyclops in regards to like how simple it would be, So they would definitely have to pack it with a bunch of cool ice effects. But I think they could definitely give us a really cool Iceman figure. And of course they could do a good Beast, but this Marvel Legends version would be very hard to top. I would love to see them do like one of the human versions of Beast. Like obviously I would love to see the X Factor version of Beast to go along with this Cyclops. I think Mafex would kill it for sure. And then lastly, here we have the Mafex Cyclops alongside his Marvel Legends counterpart. And then on the opposite side over here, we have the Marvel Legends Jim Lee Cyclops. And, I've got to say, the Marvel Legends version of this Cyclops did some things a little better than the Mafex one. Obviously, I like the Mafex one way more in pretty much every aspect. But the Marvel Legends one does have the boots that I prefer. And it has the more masked head sculpt, or like the stocking cap type of design for the head. I really wish they would have given that to the Mafex version. For whatever reason, they decided not to. I think that was a poor choice. But yeah, as you can see, the Marvel Legends one does have it. And you can't really head swap it or anything because the hole in the head is so big. You could set it on there and it could look cool and everything, but it's not gonna stay like popped on or anything. But yeah, it would have been so cool if they gave him this head sculpt, Look at that. That looks way better. The blues don't really match, so there's multiple reasons why this doesn't work. But it would have been cool if they had that on there. Definitely one of the main gripes with the figure. But yeah, aside from a couple of design choices, the Mafex one is better in every way. But I will say, if Hasbro decides to do this version of Cyclops on this body, it'll top the Mafex one. Or I don't know, it'll get pretty damn close because I love this Cyclops. They killed it right here. This is a good body for the character. And, when you add on the details and stuff, it came out really nice. So if they did something similar for like an X Factor Cyclops, they'd have a really good chance of taking out the Mafex one. But as it is right now, I think the Mafex one is the best version of this Cyclops. And just like most Mafex figures, Cyclops does have some really nice articulation, but there aren't a whole lot of surprises here. If you have any other Mafex figure, then you know exactly what to expect out of the articulation on Cyclops. But that's not a bad thing because Mafex always kills it in the articulation department, so I'm happy to see that Mr. Summers here is no different. But yeah, they killed it. I'm having a lot of fun playing around with this guy, and there's some good stuff going on. But let's go ahead and check it out, starting off with the head. He does have movement at the lower neck and at the upper neck, so using both of those, we get some really nice tilt side to side. He can look left to right. He can look down to about right there, which is pretty good. And then he could look up to about right there. And on the upper neck, he does have that angled ball peg, so you could rotate that around if you want to get a little bit more movement in a certain direction. So that's nice. And then for the torso, I love the torso setup on Mafex figures. We have a diaphragm cut and then a ball joint at the waist. And using both of those, he could crunch forward a really nice amount. Check that out. That is awesome. And then he could lean back a really nice amount as well. But we do get a little bit of a couple of gaps. Nothing crazy, but they are there. So yeah, he leans back a really good amount. And then we get some nice side-to-side movement as well. And both of these joints work really well. I feel like a lot of times when we have this type of torso setup, it seems like one joint doesn't quite get as much movement as the other joint. But in this case, they're both moving really well. And you can twist at the diaphragm, and you could also twist at the waist. And yeah, I just really love this, man, because this type of setup really lends itself to super dynamic movement. And, you know, this isn't going to be the greatest pose ever, but, you know, it's definitely like dynamic. Looks like he's moving, looks like he's trying to dodge something, you know. Simple stuff, but yeah, really cool. I really love the torso setup on Mafex figures. One of my favorites. And I also love the way they do the shoulders. We have like a butterfly type of joint here, and it gets some really nice movement forward and back. And look how much you could get his arms in front of him. This is awesome. Check this out. Like, that's crazy. And obviously this type of setup is very helpful for punching poses. Want to get him to punch across there. Not the best pose, but you know. And then on this side, you can get his arm cocked back. Boom. Yeah, so that's awesome stuff right there. I love the shoulders on Mafex figures. And then his arms, let's get him situated real quick. Sorry, Scott. And then he could also move his arm all the way around, which is nice. You could bring his arms up to the side a crazy amount because of those shifting shoulder joints. Wasn't there a cover where all X Factor was like on, like they were crucified almost? And then another thing I really love about this shoulder setup is that even when he's like in a vanilla pose, shoulders like this could be useful because you could bring them down to make it look like it's kind of relaxed a little bit, you know? And then you could also bring them up if you need them in like a more tense situation, or maybe like about to fight or yelling at someone or whatever, you know? So these type of shoulders are great for having like different types of attitude for the figure. So good stuff there. Moving on from the shoulders, he does have upper bicep swivel. That one's a little tight. This one was tight, but I hit it with some oil and now we're good to go. And this one's not too tight. It still moves. No problem at all. He has double jointed elbows. They get a really good bend. Look at that. Boom. Always got to get him into a boxing pose, you know. That's a weak ass boxing pose. He'll get fucked up doing that. There we go. And then for at the wrist, he has a ball joint that does have like a hinge. So you could hinge up and down, and then you can rotate on the ball joint or rotate at the hand. And yeah, you got some options there. And then for the legs, he does have drop down hips. And these are okay, but I wish they got a little bit more movement. I feel like it only goes to about right there. And you know, obviously if you bend his torso forward, you could kind of give the illusion that it's kicking up higher. But yeah, the legs themselves don't kick as high as I would like to see going forward. But same thing going to the side. If you want to get him into a side kick, doesn't really kick his leg all that high. You could still get him into a decent side kick, but not as good as I would like to see. He's not going to be able to kick anyone in the face. He could kick someone in the chest though. That'll work. Bam. Yeah, so not too bad, but definitely could be better. And then he does have upper thigh swivel in there, which looks pretty good and has some decent range. And then he has double jointed knees that get a good bend. Bam, look at that, that'll work. And then at the ankle, he has a ball joint that can swivel, go forward to right there, come up to right there, and then he does have a toe hinge. So yeah, I would say that I'm very happy with the articulation on him. The only thing that I wish they could have done a little better is the hips. I mean, the hips. I wish it kicked forward a little bit more, and I wish it kicked to the side a little bit more. But it's not horrible or anything, but I feel like they could do a little bit better with it. But aside from that, I'm very happy with the articulation. I love the torso, and I love the shoulders quite a bit. So for the most part, Mafex killed it once again in the articulation department. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, this is kind of a weird one. Personally, I like this figure quite a bit. I think that Mafex did a good job with it, and Cyclops pretty much provides everything that I've come to expect from Mafex. It's a good looking figure, it's got great articulation, and he has some cool accessories. But I don't know if I really feel that it was worth the actual price. I do feel like it's a little underwhelming because there's not a whole lot going on here. It feels like a very basic Mafex release. I mean, the figure does what it's supposed to, you know, like it represents this look for the character, and it is a fun figure to play with, and he does have accessories and all that, but I feel like for the price, there should be just a little bit more, especially given how simple the design is. Now, this design wouldn't feel so simple if we knew that he was getting his teammates, you know, that would kind of enhance the overall experience and kind of make it feel more worth it. But as it is right now, it feels very basic and like incomplete. But, you know, I've got to say, I'm still very happy with this figure. But I think a big part of that is the fact that I'm a big fan of Cyclops. So that makes me, you know, like more welcoming to this figure. I could fully acknowledge that it's not perfect, and a lot of people are going to be like, nah, you know, it's definitely not worth it. And I can't disagree with that because there's really not a whole lot here to take it over the top and make it feel like paying $90 to $100 is really worth it. But still, like I said, I'm happy that I have it, and I think they did a good job with it. I just wish there was a little bit more. Since the design is so basic, I really think they should have went all out with the accessories. We did get some stuff, but they could have threw a few more things in there to kind of make it seem more worth it. Like, honestly, if they would have thrown in a head that had like the more complete mask look, I think that would have gone a long way. And also, you know, maybe something like interchangeable lower legs so we could add the look that has like the boot cuffs, you know, or something like that, because the figure's just so basic. You have to throw something else in there to really justify the price, and I don't really think there's anything in there to quite justify how much you might have to pay for this. But, you know, I'm kind of conflicted because I'm very happy with it. But I think a lot of that is coming from the fact that I love the character, and, you know, I'm just a fan of Mafex. I like what they do. But yeah, so this is kind of a weird one. Let me know in the comments you know, where you guys are at with this figure. What do you think of it? What do you think of the price? And just all that stuff, you know, because I'm very conflicted. I'm happy that I had it. I just wish that I paid a little bit less. And I know, like, you know, Mafex isn't entirely to blame because they are import figures. So that makes things cost a little bit more in order to get them over here and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I paid $90 out of my pocket. And I would have been much more happy if I paid like 50, 60, you know? So, and that may be the case for some people. But anyways, I like the figure quite a bit. And, you know, the more Cyclops figures, the better, I say. So I'm good. But yeah, with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. Thank you very much. Peace.